we're here with Greg Trawick, who is the county extension agent here in the county, and we're under a pecan tree.
Right.
And if you want to demonstrate, Greg, how you're going to get these pecans to fall when you want them to fall.
Well, they have to be ready to fall first, and so usually after we get a couple of hard frosts in the fall,
okay,
the husks on the pecan will turn black and will split open. Then the pecans will just be hanging. They're suspended by a little piece of fiber, a little piece of fuzz.
Okay.
So they'll actually drop out. And when you see up in this tree, several of these, the cases are open. They're just ready to fall. You can let Mother Nature drop them for you.
Right.
Or if you want to beat the crows and the squirrels, you might better shake the tree and get them down.
Exactly.
What I use is this long bamboo pole.
Okay.
I found this pole locally, cut it for free. The hardest part was getting it home without endangering myself on the highway. But I took a horseshoe. We'll just walk here, and I just wired this horseshoe to the end to make a hook. And after this thing dries out, it's light enough. I guess this pole's probably 20 feet long, but it's light enough that I can get it up into the tree. So I'll just pick a limb here that's got plenty of fruit hanging from it. Let's see if I can maneuver through up here. And I'll hook it on this limb. Come on now. There we go.
All right.
And I'll just get back and start to shake.
Oh, raining pecans.
Raining pecans.
Oh, that's great. Now all we need now is our little picker-upper.
On the bucket, and we're ready to go.
Exactly. And we know where to go to get them shelled.
Exactly. Let me put this down.
Well, we also wanted to talk about some of the tree health for pecan trees. For those of you that have pecan trees, I'm sure there's a certain regime to giving them good nutrition.
In terms of farming pecans, about all you can do is take good care of the trees, and the rest is up to Mother Nature.
Okay.
There are lots of pecan problems, and it's really impractical to spray these large trees, so you just have to deal with a little bit of injury from disease and insects.
Okay.
But let's walk up to this tree and I'll show you a couple of things. The biggest thing, are you still taping? Okay.
You need to come closer.
Come a little bit closer.
Like way closer.
One of the most important things you can do for your tree is to make sure you fertilize it. Good fertility is going to feed the leaves, and that feeds the nuts and supports pollination and everything. And the easiest way to determine how much fertilizer you need is to measure the width of the tree about chest high.
Okay.
For each inch of diameter, you need 4 pounds of 10-10-10 fertilizer.
Whoa.
This tree, I would guess, is about 20 inches wide.
Okay.
That's 80 pounds of fertilizer per tree.
Per tree.
So it does get expensive, but it's critical. And also you need to soil test the soil around your tree and apply lime so that you keep your pH about 6.0 to 6.5.
Okay.
That helps tremendously.
Okay.
The other thing that's critical to reduce insect and disease, each year you need to clean up under your tree, remove all this debris, twigs, the spent nut cases, the bad pecans, the leaves, and that'll reduce your pest problems significantly.
Okay, okay. Well, I certainly hope we're going to put this, that nutrition of the tree, in our newsletter too, that we're going to have on our website, Greg.
Sure, and the time to fertilize is in February.
Perfect, perfect. All right, well, thank you for your expertise.
Hi, I'm Linda Hopper, and I'm excited about Woman to Woman right here on C19 TV. Each month, my guest and I would chat about issues relating to women in general, but with a special focus on women right here in Cleveland County. Our topics will range from serious issues such as domestic violence and workplace challenges to fun topics such as fashion and healthy lifestyles and much, much more. So please join me as we discuss the issues, interests, and inspiration of women everywhere on Woman to Woman.
Cinderella found the pet that fits her perfectly. Tiana gave her pet the royal treatment. Belle found beauty where no one else did. And you can too. Share your heart. Share your love. Bring home your forever friend. Make a shelter pet part of your world. Happily Ever After begins at theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back, Cleveland County. As you know, we're talking about pecans today, and I have with me Nancy Abasiekong, who is the Family and Consumer Sciences Cooperative Extension Agent, to tell us everything there is to know about a pecan.
Yes, well, Deborah, pecans are certainly, they're in season. You know, we've talked about things being seasonal. This is certainly the season for pecans. And they're nutritious and delicious, and they can be used in so many different ways that it's good for us to learn more about pecans.
Exactly. Well, first of all, I want to know, because you can walk down the street, and if you're lucky enough to either have a pecan tree in your backyard or have a neighbor, you can just walk down and pick them up. And, of course, with all this rain we've been having, I would think they're being knocked out on a routine basis, and if they might all be gone. So how do we preserve pecans in both forms, either shelled or not in the shell?
Yes, right now with the rain, one thing you want to do is keep the pecans dry. So if they are falling on the ground, go ahead and pick them up immediately, because the quality begins to decline when the pecans in the shell or however are damp or left moist. So get them picked up and spread out so they can begin to dry, dry out in the shell.
Okay.
And then you can keep them in the shell, or if you have some out in your home just at room temperature, 3 or so months, and just eat off of them or use them at will. But for prolonged storage, you'll want to freeze them. Put them in a moisture-proof container. That might be Ziploc or plastic bags, or a glass jar, a glass container.
Okay.
And if you're keeping them out or in the freezer, up to 2 years, pecans can be frozen.
Okay.
So be sure, just like with anything else, that you label it, so you know what it is and when you put them in.
Right.
And, of course, use those first as you're cycling and rotating your foods in the freezer. But they have a long shelf life. Pecans have a high oil content, so they tend to get rancid and canned before other types of nuts. So, again, that's why you don't want them to get heated or get warm. But keeping them, you can keep them in the refrigerator or just in the freezer for that extended storage.
Well, as far as nutrition goes, I know you're supposed to have nuts every day, and I would think as readily available as they are in this area, we should be eating pecans every day.
Right, we can, a handful or so of pecans. That would be about an ounce, and various nuts. It takes a different amount to be an ounce. So for pecans, you're talking about maybe 18 to 20 halves.
Oh, okay.
Halves. Now, when you're purchasing or selecting your pecans, you want them to be a golden, that light golden brown, and then the whole nuts are going to be less, the quality will remain more intact. The more you chop them or crack them or the pieces, then they tend to dry out more and so forth. So, but you can certainly buy chopped nuts ready for baking, and so forth. So they come in many different forms.
Well, Nancy, I want to thank you for meeting with me today, and we've learned about why we need to eat a pecan. So thank you.
Enjoy.
Stay tuned for the next segment of our show, which we will be in the kitchen cooking with pecans.
Right here, right now, right here, right now.
Hi, I'm Steve Putnam, and I'd like to invite you to join me for the next Talk of the Town. Each week I get to meet with some of the most interesting people in Cleveland County, and each show is packed with information you need to know to stay connected to our community. From promoting upcoming events to discussing local subjects that impact you, Talk of the Town has a little something for everyone. Plus, we're on every day, so it's easy to catch up with us. That's Talk of the Town, every day, every week, right here on C19 TV, Cleveland County's channel, only on Time Warner Cable.
Thanks for coming back, folks. I'm sure you've enjoyed watching us pick up pecans and looking at pecan trees. But we're in the kitchen now with Nancy Fichter. She should be almost a friend to you now. She has informed me this is her 4th time being on the show, and you have rescued us 3 times.
That's right.
So thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for being called at the last minute and coming in to do this. We are cooking our pecans today. And Nancy, if you just want to tell our viewers what we're going to be doing 2 recipes, I believe.
Correct.
So there you go.
Okay, we're going to be doing 2 recipes, relatively simple. The first one is going to be candied pecans, and like I said, I've chosen a really simple recipe for the candied pecans that anybody can do. They're going to be great for, salads, maybe on a cheese or fruit plate, something you could give as a gift at any time of the year. And then our second one is kind of a take on the southern cheese straw, but we're incorporating the pecans, we're incorporating bacon, and obviously cheese, and I call them shortbreads because that's what they look like, actually.
Right.
And again, and those, kind of because of the bacon, can be served at breakfast, could be also given as a gift, as being a part of, like, for a potluck, or even, again, as a part of a cheese tray.
Okay, well, wonderful. So candied pecans first, am I correct?
Okay, yes. And the neat thing about pecans is it is one of truly indigenous to the United States, to the Americas.
Oh.
It has been around since the first humans migrated. And as you probably know, the nutritional value is amazing, like a lot of different nuts. And so Native Americans had it as a staple in their diet. It should be a staple in our diets, really, because they are so great. And the name originally is Native American pecan, or that's how it sounded like when it was spelled, like P-A-K-A-N. And it literally means nuts to be cracked with a rock.
Oh.
I don't know. It's always kind of a neat project, to take nuts out to the yard and crack them with a stone.
Yes,
It's fun.
yes.
A lot of work. But to start out with, we're going to need a heavy saucepan, about a tablespoon of unsalted butter, and then about a tablespoon of maple syrup. Now, if you don't have maple syrup, you could probably use honey, and that'd be just as good. Just a little extra more than that. Okay. And I'm going to heat this up. So that's all that looks like. It's just the butter and the maple syrup. Should have probably done that. And once that's fully melted, we're going to have it come to a slight boil. And then at that point, we will actually add a cup of raw pecans and toss that up, and we'll get that going in just a minute. Okay, now I've just gotten this to melt. And I'm just going to have it come to a small boil. Let that heat up.
Okay.
You
I
can
hear
smell.
it.
Yeah, you can. You can smell the maple syrup. There you go. That's the boil. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn that off. I'm going to throw in my pecans. Give them a toss. Just coat them up really nice. And what you want to do is you want to preheat an oven to about 375.
Okay.
And you want to take a pan, like a cooking sheet, that you have put aluminum foil on, because as sugar melts and get really sticky. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pour them out over here onto your pan. You want to, you want to separate them as much as possible.
Now, if you wanted to do 2 cups of pecans, you just double the entire recipe.
That's right.
Because I would think that size pan could stand another cup of pecans.
Yes. And then what I do is you have a pinch of salt, a teaspoon of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, and a pinch of nutmeg. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle it over it. The only thing is because you have this hot sugar and hot maple syrup and butter, your sugar may dissolve. So you want to minimize the amount of tossing you do so you don't completely melt or dissolve the other sugar in this. And that's really easy to do. So you can also just sprinkle it on. And like I said, we'll put it in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes. And about halfway through, you do want to check it because you don't want to burn these. And the sugar will start to crystallize or even melt and get nice and crunchy.
And 375.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll just stick that right in the oven.
Okay.
And after about 10 minutes, you'll end up with nuts that look like this. Now, this the sugar got a little melted, and you can see some of the butter and the maple syrup kind of clumped, but it makes it really nice and gooey.
Right.
The nice thing about these, like I said, I've put them in a jar, wrapped it up for a gift.
Certainly.
And like I said, they're great on salads and just to eat.
Good.
And they're very rich.
And, of course, besides nutritious.
Yes.
Okay, so
for this recipe, this is the pecan, bacon, cheese shortbread.
Okay.
And what we're going to start out with is roasted pecans. Now, to roast pecans, you want to use a dry pan, oven about 375 degrees, and you're going to roast them or bake them for about 10 minutes. But again, you're going to want to check it every 3 minutes. Shake them around, make sure they're not burning. And what I did find is because these are really fresh, raw pecans, they have a lot of moisture in them.
Yes.
So they actually took a little bit longer in my oven to fully roast. And then you let them set out and cool, and then you get this nice chopped roasted pecans.
So you didn't chop them before you roasted them?
No, I roasted them whole, and then after they completely cooled, I chopped them.
All right, good.
So the first thing you want to do is you want to start off with about a cup of, I'll just use this, 1 stick of butter, room temperature. You want to add about a 1/2 pound of sharp cheddar cheese, and you can actually use any kind of cheese in this recipe. I've seen them use blue cheese, Swiss cheese, anything. You want something probably with a little stronger flavor. So, and it's about just over 2 cups, I think, but it's a 1/2 pound, full 1/2 pound. Okay.
And we're using here a food processor.
Yes, and you can use an electric mixture or a food processor. This just makes it really easy. It's almost a one-pot deal. So you want to get this so the butter and the cheese are relatively mixed together. And then at this point, you want to make sure that butter is going to be fully incorporated. It's not going to just be like a big blob of butter. So let me mix that around a bit.
So it might be better to start out with butter that might be a little bit not quite as soft as what you used?
Actually, probably a little softer. This might have not been quite soft enough.
Okay.
But then once it gets to when they're pretty incorporated, Then you're going to turn it off, and I add the bacon. Now this is 4 strips of extra crispy bacon. Okay, it's not bacon bits. Do not use bacon bits. That'd be, well, that might be gross, but to be honest, fresh bacon, crisp it up yourself, chop it yourself. But I guess if you really like bacon bits, it might be good. But again, just make sure that you don't have big clumps of butter. You can actually probably pre-cream the butter too. And then just mix that all in. Okay, and then at this point, you want to take 1 2/3 cup all-purpose flour. That's okay. I've got a whisk.
Oh, okay.
A 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper.
Oh, yes.
And then 1 1/4 teaspoon of dried mustard.
Okay.
It sounds like it might be a little hot. It's not really as hot as it sounds. You can add a little bit of salt at this point. Because I have the bacon, it's not necessary. At least to me, it's not necessary. And at this point, then you want to put your flour in to your Cuisinart.
So if you really liked things a lot hotter, you could, of course, change the seasonings however you want to.
Yeah, I mean, some will, and I think it also depends on how you pair with the cheese. Some flavorings work better than others. Now you'll
Certainly, yeah.
And see, this is coming to almost like a meal texture. It's not quite there yet. Might take a little bit of time. Might help if I increase it a little bit. Now, if it is a little dry, you can add some water. I'm hoping that maybe it'll come together. If not, I might need to add a little bit of water. So I can still see a lot of.
So it's it is getting more meal-like.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get it to
Of
come
course, with
together
the
a little
butter,
better.
if you didn't use something like a food processor, it would just take a lot longer to get what you're working toward.
Yes. Okay.
I'm sure it has to do with humidity.
And I just add like a tablespoon at a time because you don't want to get it overly moist.
Okay.
Come together a little bit there. And then as it's just starting to come together, add your pecans. The reason I'm doing that is because I don't want them. I mean, there are some that are really small, but it's always nice to have a little extra couple of chunks. That'll come together. A little bit more water.
So how did you chop your pecans?
I have a hand chopper, but if you have a machine like this, you can just easily do it that as well.
Okay.
And so you'll see it's come together, and then I have a piece of plastic wrap over here. Have it, gonna finish up the molding over here.
So it looks like it's dough at this point.
Yes.
Consistency of dough.
It's almost like a big cheese ball.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, and what you want to do is you can, cut it in half. I'm going to just use this one piece of saran wrap. Get it kind of
like a log.
Like a log. Now this is going to be pretty big here. I might cut this in half so I can show you what this size is.
Here.
This is probably just a great one for kids to play with because it's all this nice cheesiness.
Oh no, I think that would be good.
Okay, so then you want to
They
just
could lick their fingers with this.
Yep. Okay, so you want to get into a log. So it's about 2 inches by 2 inches. And then it has to go in the refrigerator for probably at least 2 hours, get it really firm.
Okay.
And I have a roll over here. And you want to take a pan. I actually have like a silicone mat, but you can just slightly oil it, or you can use aluminum foil again. And then you're going to take your log.
And I'm sorry, refrigerate for how long?
About 2 hours.
Okay.
You can refrigerate it overnight. And then you just want to cut it into discs about half an inch apart, quarters or half an inch, depending on. They will not spread. So
Yes.
you don't have to worry about them spreading. So
whatever size you make it, make the size of the log. That's the way they'll be.
stay.
Oh, that's good.
And then you just want to place them on your mat. And these are great to take to parties because they're easy and they come together. Like, I mean, you could make them, put them in the refrigerator, do whatever you have to do, come back.
Oh,
cut
how
them up.
great. How great.
And then
Yes.
You want to have the oven about 350, about 10 minutes. Now, if you want them crispy, I would cut them smaller.
Okay.
Maybe have them in the oven a little bit longer.
Right.
Or if you want them a little more gooey inside, a little less time. I tend to get them where they're just firm and brown on the bottom. And again, you put them in the oven, 350 for about 10 minutes. And then when they come out, you have these biscuits.
Yes, which look
Like I said, they haven't spread.
right.
And this is just a great little dish.
And it looks absolutely like a shortbread cookie.
Yeah, you might have to put a little sticker on there saying they're savory rather than sweet.
Oh no, let your guests be surprised.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much.
No problem.
This
Thank
is-
you. I really
this
appreciate
is
coming.
The time of the year to do festive things, and with pecans, they're where you saw them being picked and being shelled at our place down the street here from the Cooperative Extension. And I want to thank Cooperative Extension Kitchen for also having us here and letting us use their facility.
Yes.
So, thank you, Cleveland
Thank you.
County. We'll be back to see you in January.